Hi ladies and gentlemen, I'm recording this on the evening of August 19th. I'm not sure it will be up on the 19th, it might be the 20th. I'm Roy Potter, and of course what I'm calling this particular video is patience or procrastination. I did a video earlier on the Nephilim, and I figured, well, I might as well just go ahead and use the setup to mention these few things. I think like a lot of people, I'm probably getting, as you know, from everything that I've said, I'm getting pretty disappointed with the way things are failing to progress. And, I keep hearing people say, well, patience, this didn't happen. All these things that have occurred didn't happen overnight. They took years, and it's not going to take one term, maybe not even two, we'll be able to set things straight. But I have to admit, as you all know, that I keep seeing Trump take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, then 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And there are people who don't want to hear that. He's done great on a lot of things. I realize that. But we have to be honest with ourselves, as I've often said. So let me just cover a few things here for just a few minutes, just so that I can get use out of all these things I put up. I finally did turn all the studio lights on. I had them off for the last one. It was just too hot, but I figured for this I better. Okay, well, we've heard from The Hill and John Solomon and Dan Bongino's talked about all this new information that's breaking on the coup and the connections of the Oars, the Chinese hacks, the FBI through Judicial Watch, telling us the FBI is refusing to release information. We have FBI Director Wray, who is a disgrace, and I don't understand why Trump doesn't fire him. I really don't understand it. When he can say that people that question the government or the government's official narrative are domestic extremists or possibly domestic terrorists, and lays us bare to these new red flag laws that are coming out that are Stalinist in origin, it just boggles my mind. And of course, as everybody should know, Trump's not backing off this. He says he's talking about it in the background, but I don't like this. The fact that he's playing roulette with our rights, and I don't like it. And I hope you understand that. This is not good. This is very, very bad. And there's some other things too. Supposedly one of the reasons why he fired Dan Coats, the ODNI, the Director of National Intelligence, is because supposedly, and I believe this, of course, that Coats was refusing to stop the surveillance program, the extensive surveillance program of all Americans, warrantless surveillance. Well, now today I find out that he and his administration, you have to say him because he's in charge. He could tell them to stop. And if somebody's out of control in his administration, you say, wait a minute, I didn't tell you to go there. Cease and desist, stop. But that's not what happens. He has no control over anything, and you could say, well, they're fighting against him. All he has to do is give them an order and then back it up. But this situation, apparently they've gone to Congress and they want now the NSA surveillance to be in perpetuity. Well, now and that's on American citizens. Now I thought that Trump wanted to stop that. It's just another indication that things are not well. And at this rate, we won't save the republic. I'm sorry. Red flag laws, attacks on the Second Amendment, this thing on the surveillance. And also, if you didn't question what happened in Portland, okay? Trump in his campaign talked about law and order. And I've made the point that law and order needs to start in the administration, needs to start in our Department of Justice, FBI, IC, etc. And that's still not cleaned up. Look at the procrastination on the Epstein case. Look at how the lack of actual management over Epstein in that prison. Oh yeah, Barr went and fired the guy over the Bureau of Prisons. So what? You know, there's just a total disregard for common sense and to get these things done. I don't care what Barr's reputation is. And the bad thing is that Trump let him get away with it. And I know people say, well, don't blame Barr. I'm not in the trust Barr thing any more than I was in the trust Sessions. Maybe a little bit, but not by much. And I've already explained why. So this law and order thing, you know, law and order doesn't count in ensuring that law enforcement officers and U.S. attorneys abide the law and apply the Constitution as it was supposed to be applied. There's no control over it, and they're still getting away with crazy things. You can't tell me there aren't people. First of all, we know they're covering up for Clinton. I mean, Hillary, that's obvious. But now all of these associations with Epstein are now in jeopardy. And I don't mean because they're going to get arrested. Barr says, well, they're still, co-conspirators. Really? I was in law enforcement for a long time. I'm not impressed right now. I'm really not. So, we're seeing these assaults on Trump's supporters, and nothing happens. Just talk. We're watching the situation. Okay, well, I can see he doesn't want to overreact and be called a tyrant. But by the same token, he was the one that said he was going to support law and order. Is his idea of law and order to inflict red flag laws on decent, hardworking, loyal Americans using Stalinist mental health issues and procedures? First Amendment rights. We keep hearing about them. They're going to go after the tech companies and the social platforms and all that. Talk. I'm still hearing a lot of talk. I heard Lionel Nation. It was last night, I think. I was listening to him. I don't know if it was a live stream or if it was a recorded one, but it was from yesterday. And he was saying, this is all insane. When is something going to happen? He's even asking that. When is something tangible, really good going to happen? Okay, yeah, we can list all sorts of things here, but I still don't think. I'm still wondering about Trump, and I don't know if it's patience, procrastination, or complicity. On Trump's side, however, standing up for him, it was really obvious, as Alex Jones pointed out and Dan Bongino and several others, that the New York Times was caught in a meeting where they basically said they're going to shift from the Russian narrative, which nobody believes anymore, to the race narrative, which is just as nasty, if not worse. And they're going to push it. And if Trump doesn't take the proper stand, and that is stop hiding behind his tweets. Stop hiding behind lack of action and do something. What? Well, I've talked about that before. Matt Bracken's talked about that before. Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Schaefer has talked about that before. But Trump, he keeps putting these people in his administration that apparently aren't on his side, or it provides a real good excuse for him not being able to accomplish what he says he was going to do in his campaign, or even today. FBI Director Wray, what the hell is he doing there? Why hasn't John Brennan been arrested? I tell you, there's enough information right now from what Judicial Watch has done by itself that there should be people in bracelets. I just hope that Trump's not placating us. But I'm beginning to wonder. Now he says also, we're going to stay in Afghanistan because we don't want it to turn into a laboratory. He changes the types of words he uses, but he's using the same arguments that they've been using since 2003. 2004. Actually, since 2002. 2001, actually. We went into Afghanistan in 2001. He's not listening to us, ladies and gentlemen. Lindsey Graham's pushing the red flag laws. Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio has been implicated in this Epstein thing almost as much as Bill and Hillary Clinton. So anyway, the New York Times, we now know that they're shifting to the race thing. And we saw that in Portland. We've seen it all across. We've seen it in the statements made by Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, the whole list of people up there. They want to push it to that. Frankly, I never really understood why we have to be ashamed of being white if we're white. But they're trying to do that. And I tell you what, this isn't good. And this plan was put into place in the 1800s. And I've talked about that before. Finally, I guess all I'll do is talk about this. The MSM says that, Trump came out and he said, Clintons have probably had something to do with the Epstein demise. And the MSM, particularly CNN, but MSNBC too, has said, oh, he's saying this with no proof, no evidence, no proof and no evidence. I just want to point out that during the campaign, he said that he used the term wiretapping, but basically he meant surveilled, that his presidential campaign and his personal communications were being surveilled by probably the Democratic Party through the auspices of their clutches in the intelligence community. And he said that, and then that time they said, the MSM, CNN in particular, MSNBC, said, he's making this allegation without evidence. And then the evidence has come out in a drove, in a waterfall. I have a feeling that there will be plenty of evidence if President Trump and Barr are courageous enough to go down this path, to formally indict Hillary Clinton for all of these murders around her, and if not, her compadres, people associated with her. But they have to have the courage to do it, and they can't put it off much longer. But I'm afraid they're going to try. I'm afraid that we're going to go through the rest of this term. We might see a few people in handcuffs this fall, but supposedly the OIG report for the Department of Justice is supposed to come out. They keep pushing it forward. Now it's in September. Who knows? Nobody's been arrested. And now we're fighting a race war that's being fomented to take our minds off of all of those guilty parties who have taken part in these human trafficking, pedophilia situations, and also who have subverted our constitutional republic by using the intelligence community to do illegal things at their behest. So that's all. I'll let it go at that. Like I said, I didn't want to really take a big deal here. Just figured I'd use the studio while it was up and running just to make a few points. We're in dire circumstances, and unless law and order is reinstated in this country, and I mean from the top down, not just to the thugs on the street or even Antifa, necessary, but they don't need to talk about whether Antifa is a terrorist organization or not anymore. One of the arguments is that, well, they don't have a central command. Well, neither does ISIS or Al-Qaeda. There isn't one. That's how they use it. They basically put out an ideology and a general operations order, what they want to do. In other words, foment division, kill innocent civilians, attack government, whatever, which they haven't really done that much, which should tell you something. Seems like to me, and I'm not calling for this, but it seems like to me if they really wanted to hurt the U.S., they'd be attacking IRS offices, right? And they don't. They don't attack them. No. Or the FBI, or the DOJ. No, they don't. This is a faux war, and it's to make us afraid, but also unable to act. That's all I got out here.